The Death Tarot card. What keywords are associated with this card? The keywords are transformation, endings, change, transition, letting go, and releasing. On the reverse side, if the card comes out reversed in a reading, it can mean fear of change, repeating negative patterns, resisting change, stagnancy, or decay. Let's have a quick look at the description of the Death Tarot card. On the card, you can see that Death is riding a pale, beautiful white horse while holding up a black flag with a white pattern. It is portrayed as a living skeleton, the bones being the only part of the human body existing after death. He wears armor which gives him invincibility, signaling that no one can destroy death. The white horse that he rides stands for purity, as death purifies everyone. Beneath them, all classes of humans lie in the dirt, a king, a pauper, and this reminds us that in death there is no difference between class, race, or gender. When the card comes out upright in a reading, Death is often seen as one of the most feared cards in a reading because it is very misunderstood. Many people avoid mentioning death because it is such a feared card. Most times people take the name of the card literally. However, the real meaning within the death card is one of the most positive in the whole deck. The whole meaning behind the death card is that when one phase of your life ends, a new one is going to start. You just need to be able to close one door so a new one can open up for you. The past needs to be replaced behind you so you can focus your energy on what is lying ahead of you. Another meaning is that you're going to go through a major change, transition, or transformation. The old version of you needs to die to allow a new you to be born. This can be a scary time for you because you may be unsure of what might happen in the future. But even if you're scared, you should still welcome the change because you're opening a door to new opportunities. Death can also mean that you need to let go of any unhealthy attachments that you have in your life. This is an important part of life. Learning to keep moving forward is one of the best lessons that death can teach us. Let us now look at what death means in love, in career, and in finances when it is in the upright position in any reading. First of all, for love, it can signal changes in a relationship, changes in the romantic life, or the ending of a relationship. In career, it could mean a job transition, career transition, leaving unfulfilling careers. And under finances, it could signal financial loss, adapting to a new financial loss, or changing views of money. So let's have a look at what it means when the death card shows up in love, in the upright position. When it comes to love and relationships, the death card in love can mean that being stuck in an emotional dynamic that no longer works for you. If you're already in a relationship, for the relationship to continue, you must learn to embrace change. Sometimes this card can indicate that you may want to end a relationship, especially if things are not going well. It's important to remember that all doors close with a death card, only to open up another. So while death may be difficult to accept in a love tarot card reading, transformations for one partner or another may be what is needed to help both individuals grow. It is also important to remember that the cards are suggestions and that you may have another choice, or the choice to either accept or welcome any relationship transformation, or you can simply ignore this card. While initially scary, any transformation that the death card can bring to love can also be positive. In less stressful terms, it can be the coming of a new era, such as a proposal, an engagement, etc. If you are not in a relationship, the death card can mean that instead of pointing to beliefs or attitudes or behaviors that you're not currently shedding, you can be helped develop healthier, stronger relationships. When the death card shows up in career, it could mean that you have been considering a change in your work. The upright death card can be a signal that you should take the plunge and act now. You may have been through a rough period of apathy, disinterest, and frustration at your current job, and should not take decisive action. Events in life may force you to make a change. You may be clinging to your current path because it offers stability, certainty, and safety. But if you are otherwise unhappy or feeling unchallenged, there is much more to lose than your comfort. Often when one door closes, another one will open. So embrace the shifts occurring right now and dive in. When the death card shows up in finances, it can signal that you might be dealing with a loss of finances or resources. This period in time can be an initiator for you to transform on how you handle any relationship you have with money and the things that you value. The lessons you learn from this time can lead to practical changes when it comes to managing your resources, as well as to spiritual changes in knowing what is truly important for you. Let us now look at what the death card means in the reverse. So when the death card is reversed, it's all about change, but it is about change you have been resisting. You could be worried about letting go of the past, or you could not be sure of the change you need to make to go forward. Resisting change and holding on to the past can limit you in your future, which can cause you to feel like you're in limbo. Take time to assess the ways that you've been approaching changes in your life. You might find that you've been halting the changes that need to be taken, or the changes that might need to take place because you fear the unknown. So even though you're afraid, just trust that you are taking the right steps and move forward. Life moves on, so fighting passing time is only going to leave you with regrets later on. The death card does not have to be a card of regret, especially if you heed its warning. So when the death card shows up in the reversed for love, the simple keywords that come up could mean that you're resisting change in the relationship, you're failing to change negative emotional patterns, and in career it can signal that you are repeating negative patterns at work, you are staying at unfulfilling work, or lack of growth in your career. When it shows up reversed for finances, it can mean that you're failing to adapt to financial loss, you are continuing unhealthy financial habits. So let's look at what it means in love when the death card is reversed. When this card shows up in love in the reverse position, it can mean that there is a strong resistance to change when it comes to your approach and attitude to relationships and romance. This can come in the form of hanging on to a relationship that is stagnant and no longer helping either of you grow as individuals. There may also be a dependence on the relationship, or you may only remain together because you feel comfortable, obligated, or scared of being alone. On the other hand, old relationships can also be revived. If you're single, death reversed in a love tarot can suggest that you must avoid negative patterns and dynamics to be able to truly engage in a loving relationship. You might have self-esteem issues, savior complexes, or wounds that you need to heal in order to find a partner that will love and respect you, and one you can love and respect in return. When the death card shows up in the reversed for careers, as with cards in the upright position, you are being pushed to a change when it comes to your job or your career path. But in the reverse, you may be doing all you can to resist this change. You might stick around despite unhealthy environments that reduce pay or the monotonous work. Change is inevitable. This applies to our career as well as other aspects of our lives. We must learn to welcome it instead of pushing it away. When we cling to a cycle that is no longer meant to remain in our lives, we watch it slowly decay and drain us. At times, this card can also represent negative patterns, repeating once again in your workplace. Do you self-sabotage? Do you get defensiveness or defensive when making mistakes or create trouble? Does your imposter syndrome affect how you interact with your colleagues? Consider what must be let go of so that you can change these unhealthy patterns. When the death card shows up in finances, it can mean that there is a loss of financial resources which cannot be avoided. But this may be hard for you to accept and adapt to. You might have to make some shifts when it comes to your expenses in order to make it through these temporary hard times. But you might find it hard to give up some things that you consider necessary items. Instead of allowing this time to change how you relate to your resources and your values, you might not be learning your lessons. Learn to stop resisting these changes, and you may have an easier time coping with any losses.